What's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing? You're tuning in right now to myself, Mike, and Joe right here, and we're gonna start this topic on two quarterbacks, two future Hall of Famers who have both retired at the end of the season. But the very first one that we're gonna talk about is Big Ben, Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben.
Okay.
So, Joe, it's crazy how we've seen both of these players, Big Ben and Brady, but first Big Ben, ever since he broke into the league in 2004, in that class with Eli Manning, and I think it was
Yeah, I think so.
right now at the end, through the championships and things like that. My question to you is, Big Ben, he won two Super Bowls, but what do you think? No. I'm not gonna say his legacy. I'll say, what's your fondest memory of Big Ben?
Well, when I think about Ben Roethlisberger, I think in my mind for what I see as a quarterback, he's like the most prototypical quarterback, field general style, and so just I guess it was early on in his career when he was I believe he was a rookie, and I was just his presence out there. He didn't seem like a rookie, right? He walks onto the field, he's like 6'5", 250, 240, just a big guy and has got a strong arm. A lot like Josh Allen, and Josh Allen's a little faster maybe, but they have similar styles. Anyway, I would just say right off the bat, he blew me away. He blew me away like right off the bat. Like, I mean, right out of the gate, he just seemed like a professional pro, out there doing it. And like I said, just he just looked like the quarterback. Like that's who you want your quarterback to be. And so yeah, it was, like I said, as far as and I mean, of course, like, they played in the Super Bowl. I'm from Dallas, and they came to Dallas for a Super Bowl against the Packers, I think it was. Pittsburgh and Green Bay. I think they lost, but Green Bay got them. But that was cool because I was actually in Dallas when we got to host the Super Bowl, and so they came to play there. It was iced over. It was crazy. Everything was shut down in the city because of the ice storms. But interestingly enough, that it was fun. It was very cool.
That's what's up. That's great. For me, it would have to be the 2005 postseason when the Steelers entered the number 6 seed. They knocked off the Bengals in the wild card. Then the number 1 seed, the Indianapolis Colts. But if I had to pick a game out of all of those, I wouldn't even have to pick the Super Bowl where he amazed me. It was the in divisional round against the Indianapolis Colts. And it wasn't just with what he did with his arm, but it's the game saving tackle, which Jerome Bettis, he fumbled the ball right there at the goal line.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for Big Ben's play to stop it, the Colts would have gone all the way for the touchdown and probably would have ended their season. But it took for Big Ben to stop that, what it could have been a disaster.
Nice.
That alongside with Vanderjack, I think that was his last name, the Colts kicker, who missed the game time field goal and helped the Steelers move on to the and that I said to myself, okay, this guy has arrived. Even though I knew that the talent was there, especially his rookie season, but it was that postseason where I said to myself, okay, this guy has arrived officially. So that's my fondest memory of Big Ben.
Nice. Very good.
Now let's go to the big one now. And this is not to diminish Big Ben because we know how great he was.
Exactly.
But let's talk about Tom Brady. And I had to say this about Tom Brady. I was watching it in front of my TV screen that week 2 in 2001, Jets versus Patriots, Drew Bledsoe. was the quarterback for the Patriots. I saw when Mo Lewis just gave him that nasty hit on Drew Bledsoe that eventually knocked him out of the game and basically birthed the career of Tom Brady. And ever since then, Tom Brady said, I'm not going to be backup anymore. This is it. This is my time. So I'm pretty sure that Mo Lewis is somewhere sitting in his couch thinking that man should kiss my feet
Right,
for basically.
yeah, given an opportunity.
And honestly, like we see how Tom Brady's career evolved ever since then. Yes, some luck played factor in that because of sports. Let's be honest, no matter how great you are, in certain moments, in certain games, luck will play a factor. And and some of those games we could look at the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, which they should have had Marshawn Lynch run the ball.
Of course.
We had that kind of luck.
Yep.
He had that kind of luck.
Right.
The Tuck rule call was another luck. In sports, eventually that will happen. We've seen it various times, multiple times in every different sport. This is a guy that nobody wanted. The scouts basically said he had no athletic ability, et cetera, et cetera. The man, no one wanted this man. No one.
He was not the prototypical quarterback.
Exactly.
He didn't look like Ben Roethlisberger.
Exactly. Brady didn't have the speed like you see Patrick Mahomes and all these guys are nowadays. This guy doesn't have a cannon compared to like John Elway or Dan Marino, but is his work ethic, his determination to be great. So you see all these accomplishments that he had in his career, winning the ring 7 times, being a league MVP, et cetera, et cetera. Not bad for a guy that was a 6th round pick. So it's hard to come up with a question with Brady because he accomplished so much. And it's just amazing that even at the age of 44 years old, he did not look like he's missing a step at all. So he's walking away from the game at, basically at his highest, and he looks great for his age. So I would say this, and this is a question for you. In your mind, out of all the athletes you've seen in your lifetime, where do you rank Tom Brady in terms of great athletes? Because it's hard to say, is he the greatest? Because as the years goes by, as the generations go by, the conversation is going to get tougher. But in terms of ranking, it could be like 1 through 10 or 1 through 5. Where will you put Tom Brady right now for greatest athlete?
It's tough to say athlete across the board, even football player, because positions are different. Quarterback probably is the most prominent position. And so, that's, you could say that you could make an argument that, that because he is a quarterback and because he is so great that he's, the greatest football player as well as the greatest quarterback. There's no doubt that he's the greatest quarterback that ever played the game. At this point, I think that any questions of that should be non-existent. But, there's different types of greatness. And so, I find that he didn't do everything the greatest as, that he could have. But no, hands down, he's the greatest quarterback. Football player, possibly the greatest football player. Athlete, I mean, he's not really an athlete. You know what I mean? I mean, he played a sport made for athletes, but looking at Tom Brady, he's not Mr. Athlete. I wouldn't call him. You know what I mean? So it's hard to compare, like, let's say LeBron James or something like that, because man, what are you talking about? But you got to give him credit, and I think the most important thing is kind of like you said perfectly, is that he was a 6th round pick. He didn't look like a quarterback, and it was pure work and determination and his his will to be the best that got him 7 Super Bowls in 22 years. And then, like you said, he went out pretty much doing the same thing he did when he came in. So he took every advantage of the moments that he had, and he made them great just by sheer determination and work. And he's the greatest ever that's done that in any sport.
Yeah. And as painful as it is that I had to see a nemesis of mine, basically dominate for 2 decades. I wish he was someone that I could root for, but he's someone that I've always rooted against for the 22 seasons.
Yeah.
But I've always respected his greatness. His greatness is something you have to respect. Tom Brady, just like many great athletes, players that we've seen in different sports, you might not like them. You might not root for them, but you're gonna respect the contribution that they brought to the game.
Right.
So with Tom Brady, I do agree that I don't believe that he's the greatest athlete ever just because, he played one position. When I think about great athletes, I can't just pick one because, like I said, the conversation gets tougher, decades, years, because you're going to see the game is constantly going to be evolving in different sports. So, but when I think about great athletes, I think about Michael Jordan, I think about Muhammad Ali. I think about Deion Sanders, which I feel like he's often forgotten for athlete. The man literally would play in the World Series, and then when he was in his time with Atlanta. So, and that's something that you rarely gonna see in nowadays. Even though it could be possible, because I feel that the strengthening and the conditioning is better nowadays compared to how it was in the 80s and 90s. But I just don't really see that. I don't know. I could say effort. I feel like that play nowadays athletes are more. I feel like that the management they baby the athletes nowadays. Now more than ever, and athletes are more concerned about potentially getting injured than actually, putting effort. So there's an upside and a downside to that, but that's how I look at it. So in terms of great athletes, I would say Ali, wasn't a Hall of Famer. He didn't break records, but he played two sports, and that's Bo Jackson. So I think of those names.
Even like Michael Phelps or something. I mean, who didn't really play like in a team other than the Olympics. I mean, there's a lot of great athletes, in that respect too. Outside of sports, typical sports.
Right. So, but I will say that Grady, obviously, the greatest quarterback of all time, and I feel that in his generation, he's the greatest leader. I would say from a quarterback position because we've seen this guy. You've seen him like he rallies his guys. It could be down by 20, and he's just calm and poised. Like Peyton Manning, and I love Peyton Manning, and he's another great one. But in terms of when it comes to like galvanizing the troops, rallying your guys when you're trailing, you see that emotion more out of Brady than Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning, he's more like calm, cool, and collected, low key. Brady is as well, but he's more like let's go. You see him firing. So that's one thing that I respected. And in my opinion, I feel that he is at the quarterback position. He's the best leader at the quarterback position since Troy Aikman. People it might say like they're not sure, but if you look at Troy Aikman's leadership, if you do your research, like
I know
how he was behind the scenes, that guy was no BS. He wanted tough love. So and you saw it more after Jimmy Johnson left the Cowboys. He had some friction with Barry Switzer because he felt that Barry Switzer didn't really push the guys compared to Jimmy Johnson did. So there were moments where Troy Aikman, he just wasn't having it. So, and that's something that you got to respect. So I feel that in terms of leadership at the quarterback position, I feel that Tom Brady is the best since Troy Aikman. I would say that.
I'll say, he holds people accountable on the field like right away. I think he'd be a great coach. I think it's interesting to see, like I said, how he's so meticulous in his detail. And if a player messes up, let's say a receiver, he'll let them know. He's not afraid to go say, hey, I remember one time it was after Odell Beckham caught that one-handed pass against the Cowboys, which they lost that game, but that's like the thing that he's known for, is that one-handed catch, because it was such a spectacular catch. But and he's a very talented player. But the interesting thing is, like, the very next year, you're watching Tom Brady do some warm-ups and whatnot. And there's a guy that he was it was during, I think it was preseason or something like that. And he's out there throwing with the guy, and one of these young receivers out there, reaches out with one hand to grab the ball, and Brady goes, use both hands, like, so he's like, don't play that, and so he's so quick to jump on, like, I don't care what you saw on TV, I don't care how much publicity Odell Beckham is getting, you're gonna put two hands on that ball. And he's all about fundamentals and not flashiness. And that's why I respect about him a lot. At the end of the day, he wants to win, and he's not afraid to tell you how to do it. And everybody respects him because they know he knows. So that's that in that respect, he's a great leader.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, there you have it. Those are my thoughts, and those are Joe's thoughts about Big Ben and Tom Brady. And stay tuned for next upcoming videos, and we'll keep you more updated on what's next. So have a good night, everyone. Joe, thank you so much. Right. And stay tuned for the next one.
See you soon.